I kissed one person in high school, and I didn't do anything with anybody until after I got married. As the title of this video said, after 5 years of teaching sexual addiction recovery, I created and launched an OnlyFans.
Meet Heather Nielson, a TikToker who spent more than 30 years of her life as a strictly conservative Mormon, and the last 4 years preaching about the evil of the adult industry. She even ran a porn addiction recovery program, only to end up creating an OnlyFans herself and becoming the very thing she once called the Beast. And if that wasn't bad enough, she even went so far as to place her recovery coaching program and her OnlyFans link on the same webpage. Heather came from a strictly conservative family who were followers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, better known as Mormons. And unlike most typical church kid stories where the child starts rebelling by the age of 14, Heather was fully aligned with what her church and family expected from her while growing up. In her words, the only thing she ever did that went against her religion was kissing one guy in high school. And other than that, she got married as a virgin.
I grew up LDS or Mormon, and I was as good of a girl as they come. I kissed one person in high school, and I didn't do anything with anybody until after I got married. I didn't even watch PG-13 movies, and I still to this day have never watched a rated R movie. I didn't even listen to Kesha or like any other pop artist.
Despite everything seeming fine on the outside, her marriage had a lot of ups and downs. Based on how she talks about it, she experienced abuse and emotional pain from her partner. She eventually got divorced and remarried to another man, but even that relationship didn't work out, and she ended up divorcing her second husband as well.
I often talk about my first marriage. I guess my husband decided that he was gay, so that was like a year or something, and I'm not a fan. But then on the other hand, my second marriage, he was a total sex addict to the point where it was like too much, not okay, very abusive. And look, I was in 2 abusive marriages. That is not a good track record. I take ownership, okay? I take ownership. That was my fault. I was immature, I was dumb, didn't really pick them well. I take ownership.
After 2 failed marriages, Heather became a single mom of 3 kids living on her own. According to her own account, she also majored in marriage and family science in college. This probably led her to the kind of content she started posting on TikTok when she first began in 2021. Heather's content focused on addictions, specifically addiction, and guiding her viewers through ways to recover from it. Her videos gained a lot of traction, and her comment section was filled with gratitude. Her content was very uplifting and positive, especially for people struggling with addiction. She offered useful strategies and regularly spoke about how evil the adult industry actually is. But even during this time, there were a few red flags. The most visible one was the fact that Heather seemed to only speak about men's addiction problems and the effect it had on them, while never mentioning anything about women, despite the fact that has nearly the same damaging effect on women as well.
So my name is Heather. I'm founder of Fight the Beast and the 2% Club. I teach men how to quit for good. I know so many men who are like, I don't know if I'll ever get married. I'll never be good enough. And we really have to help them wake up and be like, no, you are on an incredible self-improvement journey that's going to attract a high quality woman if you keep it up. We're a part of who they were. I went into recovery coaching thinking these were broken men that I had to save.
And the reason for this becomes clear when you look at Heather's personal experiences with men in her own life. Although she never fully admits it, there's plenty of proof that she was deeply hurt by men struggling with addiction. Take this video, for example.
I was running through the 6 with my walls. Yeah. I was running through the 6 with my walls.
Don't go around, I'm tired of hearing women. Look, I was in 2 abusive marriages. That is not a good track record. I take ownership, okay? I take ownership. That was my fault. I was immature, I was dumb, didn't really pick them well. I take ownership. I remember one time I was crying about a relationship, and gosh, I thought my mom was the most horrible person ever for telling me to get over it. It was a marriage. I mean, you don't just get over it. She was like, get over it. Stop crying.
She was clearly affected by her ex-partner watching porn, and it made her feel insecure. In another video, when someone asked her to open up about this, she replied with, "It's been over 2 years since I was with anybody who was into that, never looking back." So despite her bold claim that she started her anti-porn content to help others, the deeper motivation seems to be rooted in personal pain rather than a firm belief that the industry is inherently toxic, and that's going to explain a lot of what happens next as we go further down this rabbit hole. Aside from this, Heather also launched a addiction recovery coaching program called Fight the Beast. It's a men-only program where she charges $28 per month to help coach men out of their addiction. On the surface, it might sound like a good idea. But the problem is, Heather is not a licensed mental health professional. Unlike most qualified coaches in this space, she doesn't have any official credentials. And that's not the only issue. Her entire focus seems to be on labeling the men she claims to help, while at the same time giving advice that completely disregards their partners. One of the most damaging ideas she promotes is that betrayed wives, women dealing with real emotional trauma after finding out their partner was secretly consuming porn, should respond by sleeping with their husbands more.
Oh, men who watch porn are the reasons why relationships don't work. No, it's also shallow women. It's also feminism. It's also the fact that people are disgusting. It also is the fact that women are equally screwed up and they're hurting good guys. And women are withholding because of the social construct that is for men, and all men are pigs. And like, I hate it. I love men. I love men. I love masculinity.
These are women experiencing genuine PTSD symptoms from betrayal, and her solution is to tell them to have more sex, as if that somehow restores trust or safety, as if that makes them whole again after being humiliated and deceived. It gets worse when she insists that these same women should participate sexually even after catching their husbands getting off to someone else. There's no logic in that. It turns something deeply painful into an obligation and strips away their dignity under the disguise of healing. It is not therapy. It is emotional gaslighting dressed as relationship advice. She also never addresses the side of the story that so many wives talk about. Many of them were already trying to be intimate, already reaching out, and were constantly rejected in favor of a digital fantasy. That reality completely disappears in her version of help. On top of that, her program only offers 2 meeting sessions per month, which is nowhere near enough for men who are genuinely struggling with addiction. These men need structured, intensive, and consistent support, not half-baked advice in between long gaps where they're left to spiral on their own. She's not helping men recover or take accountability. She's normalizing the addiction and feeding it. The truth is that most of her followers are not there for guidance or growth. They're there to fantasize about her, giving her the same kind of attention her own partner refused to give. And that's why there are endless comments of men lusting over her. Despite this, Heather was still getting traction on TikTok and gaining thousands of men who joined her coaching program. So basically, business was thriving and everything seemed to be going well for her until it didn't. Despite consistently making content for the past few years, on March 19th, 2024, Heather posted her usual YouTube video and then completely disappeared from the internet. For over a year, she didn't post anything except for one TikTok video during that entire time.
Here are the top 5 phrases that keep you addicted to porn. It's natural. All men watch it. Hey, I'm not hurting anyone. It's consensual. I need it. It helps me to sleep or relax. Just one more time, I'll start recovery tomorrow. And finally, I've tried to quit before, I'm just too weak. Which excuse do you use?
This sudden disappearance created panic among her devoted followers, especially since she gave no explanation before vanishing from social media. But eventually, Heather returned.
Hello, everyone. I can't believe it's been almost a year since I posted a public video on YouTube. I want to say welcome back to the channel, but while I've been gone, you guys have continued liking and commenting and subscribing, and I am so grateful for that and all the traction this channel has gotten.
At first glance, it seemed like nothing had changed, but that was not the case. Over the course of her year-long absence, Heather had made a pretty radical shift in her life, especially in her life. After 2 failed marriages, Heather had been celibate for 6 years. She wasn't in a relationship and had stayed away from anything sexual. During that break, she ended her celibacy and even had a boyfriend for a short period of time.
So, when opportunity presented itself and it checked all of my boxes, I made the decision to end that beautiful 6-year streak. But here's the thing. Because of how and why I made that decision, it was one of the most empowering experiences of my entire life. And my uterus said, no more abstinence. And so that led me to masturbation, something I was speaking out against for 4 years and wrote a book about. Because short of getting on Tinder, that was the next best option for a single person.
This eventually led her to do something she had been strongly against for years, which was masturbation. Now, if you watched her older content more than once, it wouldn't be hard to notice the shift in her tone. Heather started speaking in a way that felt more arrogant and self-centered compared to how she used to talk. Not only that, she became hyper-focused on sexuality and began criticizing the idea of abstinence in a way that seemed off.
In that time, I founded my organization, Fight the Beast, and wrote a book about addiction and learning to basically conquer those urges and live in monk mode. But as the years of coaching went on, I started to realize I don't really think this is super healthy for men. Sure, I was teaching men how to develop discipline, but I was still seeing side effects from monk mode. And I started to feel almost a little bit of guilt. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I was forced to confront the negative effects of chronic abstinence, both in marriages and for single people. And even though these men were far better off having conquered addiction or, toxic outlets, they still weren't reaching their fullest potential.
Her tone also came across as bitter and angry. Unlike her old approach, which emphasized listening to your emotions to heal from sexual trauma, she now promoted being emotionally detached and insensitive. That alone made it obvious that something or someone had hurt her during that time away from the internet.
Who's preventing you from changing any of the problems that you have in life? You. That's it. I have no patience anymore for complaining. Just change it. The next one is get over your feelings. Now you might be like, oh, that's so insensitive. I don't care. You know what? I don't care if I sound like some SEAL team, Navy SEAL, drill sergeant. I don't care. You know what? Life's hard. Life has taught me how to be a hard A. I don't care. That is my life experience. If you want to have your emotional, sweet, sensitive, coddled, whatever, you know what? Whatever works for you. But guess what? It's probably not working for you. It's probably not working for you. Guarantee it. Emotions don't work for people. They don't. They really don't. Getting upset and emotional and complaining about trauma and healing and being sensitive. Being sensitive, how does that serve you? You get your feelings hurt because somebody says something. How does that serve you? Does that get you closer to your goals? Does that help you feel stronger, more confident, braver, bolder? No, it pushes you down. When you allow yourself to have feelings over stupid crap, pushes you down. Get over your feelings. Feelings are a choice.
She also started to shift her perspective on porn addiction. She began saying that porn alone wasn't the problem for many men. She started to sound almost in favor of the industry, telling men to get their lives together in other areas before focusing on quitting porn. At first, that might seem like harmless advice. It might even sound like some kind of strategy, but looking back, this was one of the early signs of what was coming next in Heather's story. And eventually, on July 22nd, 2025, Heather made an announcement that stunned everyone. She revealed the elephant in the room, the most unhinged thing she has ever done and probably will ever do. She started an OnlyFans. Yes, you heard that right, OnlyFans. The same woman who spent years preaching about the dangers of and calling the adult industry the beast had now become part of it herself. The same person who claimed she was fighting for men's recovery was now selling the very thing she said was destroying them.
I'm honestly so scared of making this video, and I will cry. Not because I think that I'm in the wrong, but most of you won't understand. As the title of this video said, after 5 years of teaching porn and sexual addiction recovery, I created and launched an OnlyFans. That decision has hurt a lot of people tremendously. People have told me that they had panic attacks, that they've cried, that they felt sick, that they were shaking, and I feel terrible about that.
It's like being a recovering alcoholic and finding out that your sobriety coach just opened a bar. The hypocrisy's staggering. It shows that what Heather stood for was never about helping others, but about the attention and money that came with it. There's even a moment in Breaking Bad where Jesse Pinkman goes to an addiction recovery meeting to sell meth. That is exactly what this feels like. Except at least Jesse never tried to convince people he was the good guy. Heather did.
Why I'm here in the first place is to sell you meth. You're nothing to me but customers.
After such a betrayal, her followers were furious, and the comments under her announcement video spoke for themselves. One person wrote, "She wasn't making it trying to help you guys beat your addiction, so she decided to sell you what you're addicted to. She never gave a damn about trying to help you, just how much she could grift you. This is not empowering, this is not uplifting, it's sick. The best thing you can all do for yourselves at this point is move on and see an actual therapist if you want to overcome this." But that was not even the worst part. Instead of apologizing or taking accountability, Heather tried to justify her actions with some of the most ridiculous excuses imaginable. It almost felt like she was trying to gaslight her audience into believing she did nothing wrong. First, she claimed that her previous approach to recovery was too judgmental. According to her, judging people was what fueled addiction in the first place. And what people really needed was to stop feeling shame and accept themselves as they are. It sounds nice in theory, but it was nothing more than a way to paint herself as a savior again, even while becoming part of the problem.
That fuels addiction is not beautiful women, is not the need for something novel. It's actually just guilt and shame. Guilt and shame is the beast. I didn't realize that when I started this organization. I thought it was our conscience and God and biology and technology. Blah, blah, blah. It's not good for you. It's bad for your brain. No, it's literally just guilt and shame.
She did not stop there. Heather went as far as telling her followers to leave their religion if it made them feel guilty about porn. She said most religions were toxic because they promote shame and guilt. This statement was shocking, especially coming from someone who built her entire image around Christian values.
If your religion is making you miserable, leave your religion, please. Just leave it.
And while it's true that shame can sometimes make recovery harder, that still does not justify joining the very industry that she once claimed to be fighting against. There's a massive difference between reducing shame and completely abandoning morality. Then she tried to twist things even further. Heather claimed that nudity was not a bad thing, and that it should be seen as beautiful and sacred. She even referenced ancient Greek art, as if modern adult content is comparable to sculptures made thousands of years ago. It was a desperate attempt to sound intellectual while defending a decision that cannot be justified in any serious way.
The next one is, like, when I look at nudity historically, when we look at all of the world's holy temples throughout history, going back thousands of years, I don't know why I'm crying. This isn't even a crying point. I'm just so emotional. I'm like fully in my feels, and I'm a girl, so bear with me. Hey, I knew this video would be hard. If we look at all the holy temples, even the holy books, the story of Adam and Eve starts with literally a story of nudity, of nakedness being a beautiful thing in the garden, right? We look at other religions, we look at the Greeks and the Romans, the gods of ancient South America, the Egyptians. All of them had, you could call it pornography, but their art, like the Sistine Chapel, all of the most beautiful cathedrals that I've gone to, they all have some element of nudity as beauty, as spirituality, as something good and wonderful. And I don't know how we destroyed that. Like, it used to be beautiful. It used to be something sacred. I want to get back to where we just are able to say, hey, this isn't like some vile, horrible thing. Like, lust isn't just this horrible thing that we have to villainize. No, it's beautiful. It's good.
These explanations were not just weak, they were insulting. They showed how far Heather was willing to go to convince herself that she was still doing something noble. But deep down, it was clear that she knew what she was doing was wrong. The difference now is that she no longer cared. She traded in her credibility for attention, for validation, and for money. And what makes it even worse is that she still tried to act like the mentor she once was. Instead of reflecting on her hypocrisy, she started acting as if this was some kind of spiritual transformation. But it didn't stop there. Despite now being part of it, Heather still didn't stop talking about how bad the adult industry is for men, which came across as hypocritical and completely tone-deaf. But even though it was ridiculous, she still made a promise that her content was not going to be part of the problem. She even went so far as to say that the reason she started her OnlyFans was because men needed healthy adult content, since all the other material out there was too intense and damaging to the brain.
That's a hard truth. People are watching some crazy stuff nowadays. We're watching furries. We're watching just insane, violent, crazy stuff online. AI stuff. I mean, the technology side of this is just going bonkers. And I think a lot of people actually need rewiring back to something natural, something safe, something healthy. And while I could keep going and just shaming people into like, stop all of it and just be normal, it wasn't working. People need a guide to help them get back to something healthier before they can quit altogether and find a partner. So that being said, standard recovery methods simply don't work for most men.
But that wasn't all. She also claimed that the entire thing was a calculated marketing strategy. According to her, the goal was to attract attention so people would either join her recovery program or her OnlyFans, which she described as another type of recovery program in a different way.
Okay. I just, kind of had to shock the world a little bit so that I could then move on and teach what I actually want to be teaching. And this was the way I did it. So sorry about that. It's all strategy.
But calling this a lie would be an understatement. It was a desperate excuse to cover up a completely unhinged decision and try to soothe her own guilty conscience. Because only a few days later, Heather admitted that her content on OnlyFans was no different from what already exists in the industry. She confessed that she was now just one more contributor to the very problem she spent years warning people about. And if that wasn't disturbing enough, Heather continued to promote her recovery program. She even placed the link to her OnlyFans page right next to the link for her coaching program on the same website. This is as disturbing as it gets. Even though it was painfully clear she was just making things up to manipulate a few more followers into thinking she was still a good person, eventually she gave up. She started flat out admitting that her actions were terrible. But instead of taking responsibility, she tried to flip the narrative and paint herself as the victim. When people rightfully called her out for her complete 180, for going from fighting the adult industry to becoming one of its faces, Heather deflected. She refused to take accountability and instead framed herself as a victim of her own addicted clients, blaming their relapses on the pressure she was under.
I know I look more like a star than a recovery coach. I get it. I know I look like a dumb blonde who's barely old enough to talk about this subject. I get it. And I know I don't have a wiener down there, okay? I get it. But the truth is, if you are struggling with the addiction, your strategy doesn't work. And mine has helped thousands of men. So I'm here to remind you, don't judge a book by its cover or its author, and come test a strategy that actually works.
She claimed her OnlyFans content had actually helped men, that many of them had reached out to thank her. But this was just another cop-out, because in reality she's claiming her adult content helped men break the addiction cycle, when the truth is that she's feeding it. She is reinforcing their addiction by becoming the exact kind of content they're trying to escape. Heather also claimed multiple times that one of the reasons she joined OnlyFans was to provide for her kids. She painted a tragic picture of her financial situation, saying things like, "I lived without water for a month at one point. Also a few years without heat or AC, freezing temperatures in the house with babies. Not that I'm asking for a trophy, but that deeply changed me. It's exhausting. But the hardest part is not having family. I think families that struggle together are a lot happier than people who are completely alone. So my heart goes out to the single moms who are in that situation, because it's mentally, physically, and emotionally unbearable sometimes."
So first and foremost, my reasons for starting an OnlyFans was not to get validation or attention, which I'm not a huge fan of anyway. It was more about getting my family out of survival mode, being able to spend more time with my kids. I got to the point where I said, you know what? I've wasted so many years of their life, the last 7 years as a single mom, stressed out and struggling to build a recovery organization to save men from things that they want to do anyway. Being kind of a martyr in a way for other people's marriages, other people's lives, other people's struggles. I said, okay, enough's enough. I'm tired of listening to people relapse and being the one who gets the short end of the stick here. I reached the end of that venture, and I decided that I didn't want my kids to continue to struggle while I try to be, some hero.
But this version of the story doesn't hold up, because she was already making a decent amount of money from both her TikTok content and her paid coaching program. And if that wasn't enough proof, Heather herself openly admitted that she chose to stay in the adult content space not out of necessity, but because she liked it. "I authentically enjoy this industry, And no matter what offers I've received, and no matter what other opportunities I could pursue, I can develop websites. I've written some books. I'm a photographer. I really enjoy coaching, and I really enjoy healing. And now I also enjoy art. And just when you think it can't get more absurd, she says that doing OnlyFans has actually made her a better mom. That selling her body online has allowed her to spend more time with her children, and therefore she has no problem doing it. She openly said this with a straight face. She genuinely believes that creating explicit content for the same audience she once claimed to protect has somehow empowered her motherhood, as if being a better mom and exploiting the very addiction that destroys families are somehow compatible. This isn't just flawed logic, but also morally bankrupt. It's the kind of rationalization that can only come from someone so deep in cognitive dissonance, they've stopped seeing the contradiction in their own actions. Despite being shocked for her fans in the internet, Heather's dramatic 180 is probably something you wouldn't be surprised to hear if you actually analyzed her motivation for why she was anti-in the first place. As mentioned in the first part of this video, the reason Heather was so heavily against the adult industry wasn't because she deeply understood how harmful it is or because she genuinely wanted to help men heal. It was because of personal hurt, plain and simple. She had 2 failed marriages, both of which involved porn as a contributing factor to the divorce. So from the beginning, her crusade against the adult industry was more about processing her own pain than leading a movement to save others. And maybe after all those years of trying to fight the industry, she finally realized something: that she could get more attention, more validation, and more money by simply joining it. Because no matter how many coaching sessions she ran or how many videos she posted, none of that could compare to the fast, easy profit that OnlyFans offered her. So she took the easy road. She betrayed her message and jumped headfirst into the very thing she once labeled as evil.